sisi wazima.
That's good. Wow, that's good.
Habari ya network yetu
ni nzuri, inaendelea vizuri. Yes, inaendelea vizuri kabisa.
Can you please check what's happening with my video? I can't get everybody. I can't get the participant. I'm just seeing 4 persons. I don't know how, I'm not seeing the icon for participants.
You're not seeing the icon for participants?
Yes.
Okay, because you're in the attendees section.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't get everybody on the video section because it will be a little bit congested, and we need those who are to speak to have, freedom and clear and silent space.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's that's why. But you can see your screen. You can see names on your screen.
I can't.
You can't?
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I can't find the icon for participants to know those who are on.
Maybe because of poor connection. Maybe.
What do you see on your screen?
You are welcome.
What do you see on your screen, Harrison?
What I'm seeing is you, Moira. I'm just seeing 5 participants.
Just 5 participants, but can you hear how many? Maybe how many persons can? How many voices can you hear?
For now, I'm getting everybody's voice.
Okay. Yes. Now the thing is, there is a setting on your screen. If you look at the top right.
Yes.
Side of your screen, you'll see where there's view. So there you can change to see all participants at the same time, or you can just do the settings to see only the speaker appear on the screen, and there are a few participants at the top. That's where you select that option.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you get that, Harrison? The view option, you can select to see everybody on your screen at the same time, or you can select to see just the speaker and a few other participants at the top.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think that the settings have been put in place in such a way that we can only see the panelists. We cannot see the participants.
Yeah. No problem.
That's for a reason as well. Okay. We have 29 we have 29 online already.
Ayuk, you are the moderator, so you lead us.
Well, yeah, with your approval and Rosalind, the co-chairs, approval from the co-chairs, I mean, just give the green light to go, or what, we wait a few more minutes, I don't know.
Ayuk, you are the moderator, you have the authority and you have the power to
Really?
do whatever you
Oh,
it's in your hand.
For the very first time in my life, I can say something. I have control over so many important people and very, very strong personality. I don't know what to do. I'm a little bit nervous now, That's a very serious job.
Ayuk, you're in charge, you're the moderator, so tell us, guide us, whatever you want to do.
Okay, we have 7 minutes past the start time. So let's say we kick off at 10 minutes past 1 p.m.
All right.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, great. So 3 more minutes.
Can I pick and paste?
Yes.
Hello. Everyone, what you have okay? Jawam. Yeah, kuna go way ya komba inga. Okay, we were pa 700. Ndainga 750 ya fanya kubaisha.
Right. Okay, so we are now at 10 minutes past 1 p.m. That's West Central Africa, and I believe it's time to just kick off the meeting with a few requests or sorry, house rules. Please kindly mute your microphone if you're not speaking, and try, excuse me, try to indicate or whenever you can, there are the boxes, chat boxes and the Q&A boxes below your screen. You can submit your comments, share whatever idea or opinion on the subject or item being discussed at the time. And also, please, if you have any problem or any trouble with your connection or with any technical issues, please, you can go to the website forum as well and just type your worries or concerns there, and I will be on standby checking that forum as well, that platform as well, to make sure that everybody is okay with the meeting proceedings. And so now I have been delegated as the moderator for this very important meeting, the first SGA Africa members meeting. So I would like to thank the SGA Africa, and I would like to thank the co-chairs, Dr. Omokaro and Ms. Roslyn Kihumba. I would like to thank the SGA Steering Committee, who are also present here, not to take too much time. This has been a teamwork, and I believe the members as well, who've been very committed to the work of SGA Africa, and they've taken off time. Today is a Friday. I know how Fridays can be busy with everyone. So today is a Friday, and you've taken off time to join this meeting. So thank you. We're going to try and make sure that this meeting goes on without any issues, or without any problems, or without any barriers or challenges that we may face. We'll try to work through them together. So I will just leave it at this and request our co-chairs, Dr. Omokaro and Ms. Kihumba, to lead us with what's on the agenda. I'm on standby always to offer whatever assistance anyone needs. Thank you. MM and Roslyn.
Ayuk, please, I push back the agenda to you. Can you lead us on what is on the agenda and lead us to adopt the agenda, please? And then you push it back to us.
I'm on standby always to offer whatever assistance anyone needs. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ayuk, please, I push back the agenda to you. Can you lead us on what is on the agenda and lead us to adopt the agenda, please? And then you push it back to us.
I'm on standby always to offer whatever.
Is it delayed? Is it delayed? Thank you very much. Ayuk, please, I push back the agenda to
hold
you.
on.
Can you lead us on what is on the agenda and lead us to adopt the agenda, please? And then you push it back to us.
I'm on standby always to offer whatever.
Is it delayed?
Yeah.
Is it delayed? Thank you very much.
Well, I'm getting egg.
Hello? Can you hear me? Ayuk, you're muted. Ayuk, you're muted.
Hey, here I am. Yep. Yeah, good.
So,
yeah. So I should go. I should go through the agenda. Yeah.
Yes, and let's adopt the agenda, please. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, quickly the agenda was. Muted. No, I'm not.
I propose that the agenda be adopted. Can we have somebody to second my motion?
I'm not muted. Can you hear me? I should go through the agenda. Yeah.
Yes, let's adopt the agenda, please.
Okay. So yeah, quickly the agenda was. No, I'm not. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello. I seem to be finding we have echoes and delayed.
It's done. It's done. That's done.
You sure?
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
It's gone. Right. It's gone.
Okay.
Yes, somebody. I need to mute some microphones. Just give me a few.
Qui ne comprenons pas l'anglais, qu'est-ce que nous allons faire?
Okay, it's about translation.
Now, Lisa,
okay, now we are on. We are back. Okay. So I'm fine now. Okay. Let me go through the agenda.
Okay, please.
Yes. Okay. So first we have welcome note from the co-chairs. That's Dr. Omokaro and Ms. Kihumba. Then we have key achievements and challenges The third item is SGA Africa 2021 Plan of Action and how members can engage in key events. The fourth is COVID-19 crisis and contributions from SGA Africa in building forward better. The fifth is human rights and legal instruments engagement going forward. That is point 1, ratification and implementation of AU protocol to AU Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights and the rights for all of older persons. The second point, bullet point, is open-ended working group engagements and collaborations. The sixth item is status and collaborative ventures with partners. Bullet point 1, AUC and SG Africa and UNDESA, SG Africa and NGO Committee on Aging. So seven item, which is the last, any other business. I believe members, you all have copies of this agenda, so that's what we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vijay, you earlier adopted the agenda?
I propose that the agenda be adopted.
Okay. Is anybody seconding that?
I second. This is AC.
AC, good to see you. Okay, I acknowledge my co-chair, Rosalyn Kihumba, who's here. I acknowledge members of the steering group. Ayuk, we have Vijay Naraido from Mauritius, Ayuk from Cameroon. I see, I saw Eli Elia from Rwanda. I don't think I'm seeing Andrew from Malawi. And then of course we have OC from Nigeria. And then we have Bola. I welcome all of you, and please let me just use this opportunity very delightfully to welcome this wonderful, this awesome family, passionate people, experts in aging, working passionately across Africa, across the globe, to ensure that the voices of older persons are heard, to ensure that older persons are included, and working over time, especially during this COVID-19. I see Moira Allen working so seriously and magnifying our voices. Whenever we see a thing, Moira magnifies it through her publications. Thank you very much for joining this meeting. Thank you from East Africa. I'm thanking you, West, South. I don't think we have anybody from the North, Central. Thank you very much for joining this meeting. Of course, we know who we are, but I don't want to assume that everybody, especially some persons who have joined lately, really know who we are. So I want to use my 5 minutes to first say who we are. Of course, we are a stakeholder group on Aging Africa. We are members of the UNECA African Regional Mechanism for Major Groups and other stakeholders engaging in SDGs implementation. We represent the constituents of older persons. Of course, our engagement is not only on that particular regional platform. We engage across nations, across the globe. Anywhere there is a fight for the rights of older persons, so we engage on multi-levels in Africa, engaging across institutional organizations, government organizations, intergovernment organizations. And of course, we are a regional multi-stakeholder coalition of first the right older persons themselves, CSOs working in the field of aging, expert groups. We have professional bodies, representatives here. We have academia, researchers. We have representatives of human rights institutes. So you can see that we are a basket of all aspects of aging being represented here. And of course, our focus is to combat age discrimination and to influence older persons' inclusion and participation, policy responses and implementation of African Union Agenda 2063, and of course, SGA's Agenda 2030. I want to say that we were founded in 2018, and from 2018 till date, we have had 2 conferences, regional conferences, one intersessional event and conference, but we have never had a general meeting, a meeting of members. So that is why we say this is our inaugural meeting although we have been meeting on other platforms, but this is the first time we're going to meet to discuss, plan of action and issues concerning us. So I thank you for attending. For me, just to round up this welcome address, I want to say that stakeholders engagement is particularly important. It's very essential for a group as large and as focused with such objectives that we have set out, and we are coming from different regions. So to engage as stakeholders within ourselves as members to understand the issues and to make our contributions is extremely very important. We believe that our engagements are instruments to expanding our capacities and supporting peer learning, sharing, collaborating, developing multi-stakeholder regional partnerships, and really getting to understand the issues. And then, of course, it is very important that we all partake in the decision-making, the planning process and the decision-making. So this General Assembly is going to open up all the issues. We're going to consider a plan of actions. And please, I appreciate that everybody will find it very necessary to contribute, especially when you bring your national and your regional perspective to bear on the decisions. So thank you very much. I really look forward to enjoying this meeting. So let me hand over to my co-chair, Rosalind.
Very much, Dr. Imem and Ayuk and everyone who is here. We are so very proud of you joining us today, and also for the many years we have worked with you all. And we know now we have really borne the fruit that we really hoped for, that we can see a lot of awareness among the communities, among the politicians, among the UN system. And this all is not just because of us, but because of all of us. We have been able to do that. And especially last year, I don't know where the energy came from each one of you. Now we have a lot of political commitments, even from the UN, from governments. And this really lays a great foundation for all of us to really take advantage of as we try to strategize individually, but also collectively in the next coming 1 or 2 years. And despite the COVID, I think as the government rethinks how to reform systems and even to build their capacity, it would really be good. It will be a great moment for us to be able to position ourselves, each one of us, but also collectively at national level, at a sub-regional level, and national level, as we join others to really move the agenda to another level that can really bear fruit to our older person, because up to today, our older person are still suffering. They are not able to participate because they don't understand their rights. They don't know how the government works. They don't know their spaces. They are not getting the services. They are not being included in policies and laws. We do not have laws and policies at national level. So we have a great work, but at least we have somewhere to start from. And I guess maybe the coming period, we will try to see how we can organize ourselves at individual level, but also collectively. And we would really love to see more, consistency in terms of the consistency and, a more articulated conversations at national level and regional level. And that is our responsibilities as aging institution. We would want really to make sure that we are fundraising so that we can get that money to do what we want to do in terms of convening, in terms of programming, in terms of research, in terms of the need to fill the gap of technical know-how that is needed by our government, by our communities, by our own civil society, society institution. So I'm throwing it back to you that we really have a lot to do the next few months, few years, and it will depend on how we will work together and strategize. So welcome very much. I may be leaving early because we have a major group meeting where we are trying to strategize on how to engage the African Forum, but also the high-level political forum. You may be aware, one of the co-chairs of the African Forum for major groups here in Africa. And one successful story that we have as a major group in Africa is that we are now acknowledged within the major groups and other stakeholders in New York, and we will now be strategizing more on how to front our space as key stakeholders in implementing and monitoring SDGs. Otherwise, welcome so much, and we are looking forward to working with each one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, co-chairs. So without opening note from you, I believe we can move on to the main part of the meeting. And that was just to set the stage, which is very important. And so we are going to move on to the next part, the second item of the meeting, which is key achievements and challenges. And that will be taken by Dr. Omokaro. You have the floor, MM.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayuk, and thank you very much, Rosalind, for that in a breath. That was extensive for that foundation that you laid. Of course, I had said earlier that it was in 2018 that the Stakeholder Group on Aging Africa was given a seat at the African Regional Forum after extensive advocacy by Help Age International and the Dave Omokaro Foundation. Having been given that seat, the first challenge was to mobilize across Africa to ensure that it was the Stakeholder Group on Aging Africa was representative of Africa, of course. So that we were able to do by convening our first regional conference, which held in Nigeria. After that, it has been a membership drive to ensure that we have in our kitty experts, CSOs, human rights, all those people that I named. So far we have been able to mobilize membership. And one of the achievements I would say is that our membership has been coherent. Our membership has been, we have been together, regardless of the fact that we only met twice, across using the Google group and using now our WhatsApp group and all the sharings that we have shared. SGA Africa has come to become a solidified body. And SGA Africa has had a voice, not only at the African Regional Forum. SGA Africa has come to have a voice at the United Nations Open-Ended Working Group on Aging. And I would say that in 2019, we were able to organize the first regional intersessional event towards the 11th UN Open-Ended Working Group on Aging. And also that we're able to organize a side event which brought African group for the first time at the UN and really mobilize the African group to really pay attention to the UN Open-Ended Working Group on Aging. Having said that, coming into 2020, of course, we had the challenge of the COVID-19. Before the COVID-19, one of the achievements was that we were able to attend the the African Regional Forum for Sustainable Development, which held in Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. And then we were all together able to work on we had key messages that we sent across, and those key messages coming, through, all aspects of aging. And I want to say that I will summarize for purposes of time. If you watched that, the email that was sent to you, there was a link to this document, summary of SGA Africa achievement through 2020. I don't know if any one of you took time to read that document. The achievements, what we were able to achieve in 2020 is clearly stated there. So I'll just give you the highlights of the things we were able to do in spite of COVID-19. We were able to conduct a survey on the impact of COVID-19 containment and mitigation strategies on the rights of older persons in Africa. And that survey, outcomes of that survey led us to organize a Pan-African webinar, the first Pan-African webinar on impact of COVID-19. And of course, the survey, results came from 18 African countries. And from the webinar and the outcomes of the webinar, we were able to put together an article, a publication. We're able to publish our findings, which, as we speak, is on the UN website. It has also been published by the International Institute on Aging, UN Malta, and it has become a reference document to a lot of people who are doing research on COVID-19 and the impact, on the rights of older persons. And then following from there, we just thought that older persons were really not getting a representation, that they were not really being considered from the outcome of the survey that we had. They were not really being considered concerning responses to COVID-19. And we looked at even the UN Secretary General's policy statement that was made. And then, of course, the African Union policy statement that came out. And the question that we asked ourselves was, so who is responsible? What structures and what mechanisms are in place to ensure that this policy, measures and, are implemented, and they go really drill down to older persons, even in the rural areas. So that made us to, hold the second webinar. We needed to hear from, organizations, and very important organizations, international organizations, African organizations, for instance, African Union Commission, the UNECA. We needed to hear from UNFPA, from WHO, all these institutions that are really critical to the implementation of COVID-19 measures. So that led us to have a second Pan-African webinar, which was very successful. And the outcomes of that, one of the critical outcomes of that was that it led to the pursuit of a partnership between stakeholder group on aging and the African Union Commission. And that partnership, the process is still in place to come up with a plan of action for 2021, 2022. And one of those highlights and what we're pursuing now is that we are going to be able to hold an independent ministerial conference where we will have ministers by the power of AU, by the AU convening powers, where we have our ministers of social protection, ministers of social development, ministers of gender, gather all from across Africa. And we can now have one-on-one interaction, and which now is we're not talking from a distance now. We've been able to penetrate African Union, and of course the UNECA and the UNDESA. We'll be able to get our voices heard and get older persons to really come up, and then interact with all these policymakers and move it from there. And going further, we went further, of course, to increase. I would say that this is one of the achievements that we had last year. We were able to open a WhatsApp group, and that WhatsApp group has really, encouraged interaction, amongst us from across Africa. So I want to stop there. And then the challenges that we have faced really is the challenges of registration, if I would say that. The webinar brought in many people. In fact, there was a particular webinar, over 200 people registered. And the 200 people now, you know, a few of them have joined the WhatsApp, and they are very interested in the activities of SG Africa. But there has not really been a registration. And when I say registration, I'm talking about registration of organizations from which they belong. So we have a list, a database where we have many members when it comes to invitations, you know, to webinar and all that. And then we have the membership database, which we have fewer members. Say that is one of the challenges. And then another challenge that we have had is the translation ability to, you know, for instance, a meeting like this. And then we have, because we have our Francophone members, our Francophone brothers. So how we are able to translate whatever is, you know, done in English, we translate to French. We had that challenge when we were writing, doing the survey, but we were able to co-op our members who helped us to translate. So going forward, that's the challenge number one. How do we get more members to register? How do we increase our database? How do we expand to North Africa, seeing the language barriers? And then how do we ensure that we have in place a system of translation? Even if it's when we are sending documents out, we don't send only documents in English language. How do we ensure that we really systematize this translation so that truly when we say SG Africa, we are truly SG Africa covering? So I would like to stop there and then give the floor to one or two or three members of SG Africa, the steering group. Maybe there's something I've left out. There's a challenge that they see besides the challenge of membership. And I want to say here that it is this challenge of membership that has not really allowed us to move forward to attend to regional representation. Like you have, for instance, you have a regional representative. For instance, because when we look, I will have to share that, you look at regions, for instance, countries, you see only one person from that country, only one organization. It has been like that for this many years, since 2018. One person will come from, I don't want to mention countries, there's a certain country, and it's just that one organization from that country. So what are we doing? So the challenge is that we are not really mobilizing from within our countries to get members to join SG Africa. There are many countries like that I can name. You just see one organization from that country, and now it's looking like Nigeria is going to overrun SG Africa because, you know, Nigeria, we are almost 100 organizations. So I want to say that's a challenge, and I throw back that challenge to all of us, that we go back to our country and really mobilize our organizations. I know some of us, we are network organizations, but let every organization have a voice. So thank you very much, Ayuk. I leave the floor open to anybody who wants to, you know, add to what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omokaro. And now we may just have a few minutes, 2 or 3, for comments or questions, quick questions. And if they cannot be answered, then we'll put them on the side and probably do so at the end of the meeting if we have time, or later by email. Any questions or comments on that? Vijay.
Yeah, thank you, Ayub. Thank you, Dr. Omokaro. I'm very much sensitive to that question of dimension of regional representation. I am from the Southwest Indian Ocean region, and at some time I felt the whole weight of the region on my shoulders. So, in fact, we are working in that direction with 10 mois in Madagascar, 10 mois in the Seychelles, 10 mois in the other islands. So, once this is materialized, we're taking our time to have a solid base before we invite other usher in those 10 mois in the region into SG Africa. So we're working that direction, I can assure you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Any other comments or any other observation?
Thank you, Vijay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank you, all of you. And I want to recognize also the representation of the Great Lakes region by Mr. Remy, who is here. We have been discussing about the issue of English and the French and of French-speaking people. So I'm happy that he was able to come here and to attend this meeting. And thank you, Dr. To have mentioned this, because I think all of us together, we can find a solution. Thank you very much, all of you, and thank you, Mr. Remy, the president of Great Lakes Aging Africa Network. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. That was Eli from Rwanda.
Yes.
Maybe before we speak, we should introduce ourselves, please.
Yeah. Okay. For just so we move on and catch up with the time, can we move on to the next item on the agenda, the co-chairs, with their permission? Is that okay?
Yes, please. I'll leave the floor to Rosalind to
I've muted this contact so many times. So Rosalie, we have SGA Africa 2021 plan of action and how members can engage in key events.
Thank you very much, Ayuk, and all the contribution made from Mauritius and Kigali. For me, I will just go through a few of the items that we have on the lineup, which we hope we could work together during the year. And will also mention a few of them. So we are hoping that we could finalize on the TOR of the steering committee, so that we are clear in terms of their roles and responsibilities and what we would want them to achieve. And once this is done with the steering committee, we will be sharing for further input. We will also be working towards the overall strategy or for the platform, and also trying to scope for funding for some of the activities that we would want us to have in place, but also in terms of having a clearer communication strategy in terms of how we are branding, how we are disseminating or marketing the platform. So that will be ongoing, but the most urgent one is around finalizing on the TOR and strengthening our objectives and goals. And we will be sharing all these, but also if you have the capacity to also support us develop some of these important documentation, particularly the strategic plan, fundraising, the communication strategy, would really welcome you on board to support us. The other aspect that is key and what gives us the legal ground as a platform is the engagement around Africa, around SDGs. And we have lined up a number of activities based on what we are supposed to deliver at national level, but also regional level and the high level political forum. And starting from national level, our major focus would be focusing on the countries that are reporting this year, and we have a number of them. That is Angola, Cape Verde, Chad, Djibouti, Egypt, Madagascar, Namibia, Sierra Leone, Tunisia, and Zimbabwe. And you will note that we don't have partners from Chad, Djibouti, Egypt, and Namibia and Tunisia. So we would really want, if you're in those, if you have a contact of a person who leads aging or interested in participating or contributing to aging, you can really direct to us so that we can work together. But what we really want is to work with you so that if you're in those reporting countries, we work with you to ensure that you are actively engaging on the national reporting, but also in terms of the civil society are also drafting shadow reports. So we would really want us to work together. And should you need support in terms of how to engage, who to approach, please just write to us and we'll be able to provide you the necessary necessary information, but also even at times the necessary technical expertise. But even though your country will not be reporting this year, what we would really want is to ensure that you are engaging the national processes. You're making sure that there is space for us in the roadmap or the institutional framework that is implementing and monitoring the implementation. And what we want is to have a say within the civil society platforms that have been created, and for us to create that group of aging. We would want the government to really recognize us. So it's very important for us to ensure that we work with you to ensure that we have occupied the right spaces, we are putting on the table the right asks, so that we are moving the agenda forward. The other aspect that we would want to see is for us having conversations around age inclusion in SDG at national level. We would want you to be very active in national and sector planning process, because you know that SDG is actually implemented through the national planning processes. So we would really love you to engage in those sectors well, and that is why we really need you to organize yourself at national level, as we also try to organize ourselves at regional level. So please mobilize yourself at national level so that you have a platform where you can meet frequently and agree what you want to deliver, what spaces you want to occupy. While we go at a sub-regional level, we have not broken through the sub-regional level. We want us to see how we can engage the sub-regional level, that is people in South Africa, to see how they can engage the SADC processes that also lead, that have component of SDGs and other important discussions around human rights, sector processes, similarly even ECOWAS. The second last one is around the Africa Regional Forums, which are organized every year to review what we have done over the year. And the coming event is happening on the 1st to 5th of March. And as I had requested earlier on, we really wanted you to design side events to submit as well for their approval. But since we were not able to do that, we will try to work with you to use, there is noise. We will try to use the side event that we have submitted if it goes through, so that we can see what to do. We will also be trying to develop some key messages which you could also relay within your country related discussions, but also at regional level. We continue to encourage you to ensure that you participate in sub-regional and regional events to share and also to intervene, because if we don't intervene in those discussions, our issues will be left out. And later we will be planning to join the rest of the world in the high-level political forum in July. And again, we would wish you to make sure that you're following the discussions on how the national stakeholders are are planning to engage and participate in the high level political forum, and we will be providing you as much information. And if you are not sure of what you can do, please also approach us so that we move the agenda on the higher radar. Just also, I know MM will touch that as well, is that we need to make sure that we are engaging the discussions around the building back better, the systems that are being reorganized after COVID. So please, let's make sure that we are engaged and fronting the right messages for us at a national level. And yeah, let's keep it at it, and let's organize ourselves, and let us pitch ourselves with good messages that can really bring a change for our older person. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I will hand it over to MM. If I may leave at some point so that I join the next meeting. Otherwise, I wish you well, and I'm really looking forward to working with you closely, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Rosalind. Rosalind did raise the issue of the terms of reference, writing the terms of reference and the strategic plan. And she also did say that this is open to contribution to members participation and contribution. And I see some of the attendees here. Somebody did raise, accept the offer that he's very willing to work with us, in fact, not just one. So I would like to say that rising from here, maybe one of the things that we should consider as a steering group is to expand our work group, for as many as are interested in any area that they are interested. Maybe in the setting up, in the completion of that strategic plan, the terms of reference, even in our own area of human rights, because we're just full of persons that are experienced, they are experts in different areas. So I'm just saying this to say that for all the plans that you hear, all the activities that we line up, that this is a call to inclusion, a call to being part of the process. So even if that means setting up the work group that we have, then enlarging the work group and calling for volunteers, whoever wants to join, whichever work group you want to join, I think that would be very, very, very welcomed. So to move ahead, Rosalind, will that be all right? Hello, Rosalind?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that we really need, we can use with a lot of help, yeah, to move the things forward. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now I just, following from Rosalind, I see that another issue that we're really going to be engaged in fact, one of the activities, a major activity that we're going to be engaged in is, as you know, we cannot talk about sustainable development goals without talking about human rights. That's a fundamental principle of the human rights, universality. So in pushing for the inclusion of older persons in sustainable development goals, we must anchor this on human rights, and we must engage at the national level, at the regional level, every multi-level platform that we have. Regional organizations, we must engage and cause them to understand that older persons have rights, and then see how we can change conversation from older persons as being a burden and bond and not contributing to economic growth, to older persons indeed as a group with impact investments. So if we can find a way as stakeholder group on Aging Africa to change the conversation around aging in Africa and get the attitude and the orientation and the paradigm to shift, that there is no way of talking about population dividend, demographic dividend without including longevity dividend. If we can do that, then we'll begin to see, changes. So one of the things I will be doing this year and going forward is that we have created a work group, which we are now, by saying this, I'm calling as many people as are interested to join, members, to engage, engagement. We want to engage African member states. And when we say African member states, these are our governments, our individual government, the government in Cameroon, the government in Mauritius, government in Rwanda, the government in, name it, Kenya. These are our government in Nigeria. So how do we strategize to engage government one-on-one to speak about the issues of human rights? So that's one of the things we should, luckily, as I had said earlier, we have broken through African Union. In African Union, they have assured us that they have the convening power, African Union Commission. So we're going to work very closely with African Union Commission to ensure that they use their convening power and convene member states, conference of member states, where we'll talk about aging. And then they also have assured us that they will work with us from now towards 2023, where the thematic issue for African Union will be that which we will work with them to choose. So normally they pick a theme. African Union picks a theme for the year, but they prepare to pick that theme, like 2 years before, the theme is announced. So we're going to work as SG Africa, with African Union to ensure that whatever theme is picked for 2023 is age inclusion based. So that's that engagement, what we want to do. And then capacity enhancement of African member states and relevant stakeholders towards inclusion. We know that when we know better, we do better. So building capacity. African Union Commission is also interested in building capacity. UNDESA, right now we are talking about building capacity. So we are going to really work on ensuring that our partners, together with us, we build capacity. Government has to understand aging better. Government has to change the paradigm. We must change the conversation around aging in Nigeria. So that's one of the things that we are going to be doing. Ensuring that we enhance the capacity of African member states to understand aging and to appreciate aging and appreciate aging inclusion. Situation of the human rights situation of older persons. So we'll be working about that. So on that, the activities is going to be promotion of the ratification of the protocol to the African Charter on Rights of Older Persons. That protocol, of course, you know that since 2016, only very few countries have signed. So we are going to mobilize around that. The countries that have been able to sign are going to lead us. So that group that we are going to form, we're going to be able to, develop tools that will help, other member states other members of SG Africa to learn from them, the steps. How did they get this signed? So we are going to work around that. The promotion of the ratification of the protocol. And then, of course, the development of national advocacy tools. I just said that. So what tools can we develop? How can we help our members in the different countries to be able to move step by step towards getting the government to ratify this? And then, of course, we are also interested in continuing with our regional conferences, our regional webinars, because these are avenues that we learn from each other. We share experiences. These are avenues that we build capacity as well. But what we're going to do this time is that at the end of every webinar, we're going to have feedbacks. We want feedbacks. How does this webinar help us in our countries? What things were we able to do with the information that we got? So we're going to be able to do that. Then, of course, the next one is partnership development. We are very interested in, the strength of partnership. So SG Africa, we have come this far because we've been able to, develop partnership at the United Nations with UNDESA. We work very closely with that department, aging department. We've now developed partnership with AUC, ECA. We are working to develop serious partnership with WHO, UNFPA. Once we can do that, not only at the region, we also encourage within our different countries. And then apart from that, partnership with each other, sub-regional partnerships. What can we do together? So that is what we'll be working on. So I encourage anybody who is interested in these areas to please join us. And then wherever we need to, develop a memorandum of understanding, we do that if it's necessary. And then the terms of reference of the partnership. So these are the things we're going to be considering. Why? Because we are pursuing sustainable partnerships. It's not, one webinar here and after that we're gone. We want to know that we have mechanisms. These are mechanisms we are penetrating and building mechanisms to be able to influence policies, influence legislation. So we are interested in ECOWAS as well. We are interested in all these sub-regional legislative bodies. So please, you're welcome. After now, we'll see how we can, invite people to join the different groups. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Roslyn and I believe Roslyn has taken her leave, as she earlier explained. She has another engagement, and so you are aware of that. Is that we can move forward, right?
Please go ahead, please.
Okay, great. So before we go on to the next item on the agenda, I would just like to inform members that if you have questions, it's not possible that we have conversations and discussions then, within the time frame that we have. So if you can just type in your question or your comments, it will be recorded. And of course, after this meeting, those who will make comments or answer those questions, we'll put them together and then publish, and members will get everything that we have here today. So the next item on the agenda is COVID-19 crisis and contributions of SGA Africa in building forward better. And on this item, we have Dr. Osi Ogbu, who is a geriatrician, and she is a member of the Geriatrics Association of Nigeria, and she's going to be handling this item together with Dr. Amaike. Dr. Amaike is a professor at the Lagos State University. So Dr. Osi and Dr. Amaike, I can see Dr. Osi, not Dr. Amaike, so please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I guess some of us are already fine the day and some are still in the morning. And Happy New Year. It's good to really see some old friends on the platform. So I'm going to go through this, which we probably all already know. We've all experienced it, that the COVID-19 pandemic is a major global humanitarian crisis, and it has far-reaching impacts cut across multiple sectors. But of course, we know that the socio-economic sector has been worse hit. The pandemic has unveiled the structural weaknesses in the public health systems of most nations of the world, and particularly the developing nations, in which we have most of them on the continent of Africa. Prior to this pandemic, these nations grappled with a myriad of issues, ranging from food insecurity, human displacement, water and sanitation and hygiene, poverty, malnutrition, poor housing, poor health indices. I mean, these are just to name a few, and of course the high unemployment rates. So the pandemic has come to wipe the gains, if any, from the efforts of African governments in tackling these pre-existing socioeconomic challenges. So it really has dealt Africa a major blow, and it has the tendency to plunge the continent into a state of catastrophic hopelessness and helplessness, with the risk of citizens' unrest, chaos, violence, in addition to high levels of mortality, if not given due attention. And this attention is actually going to require partnership with the international community. As of 28th of January, over 100 million, which is about half of the population of Nigeria, have been confirmed to have COVID-19 globally, with over 2 million deaths so far since the beginning of the pandemic. And of this, 47 African countries have been affected, with a total of 2,505,000 plus cumulative cases and over 60,000 deaths. So there is a lot that the pandemic has dealt us, globally, not just Africa, but we have higher vulnerability. As we all know, the pandemic was named and discovered in December 2019, and the virus that is responsible for this infection is called the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and is transmitted through droplets between humans and by touching contaminated surfaces. There is currently no known cure, but we all know that scientists have been racing to come up with some cure, and out of those scientific activities, we have certain drugs that have, made good promise for reducing progression to severe infection, reducing length of stay in the hospital, reducing the number of days to be able to test negative. Some of these drugs include steroids and a drug called remdesivir, which is an antiviral agent. We also know supportive care with oxygen, good hydration, and exercises, especially breathing exercises, have also been shown from studies to be quite promising. Randomized trials continue so that we're able to classify the utility of these existing drugs. And very exciting development is the availability of vaccines with efficacy ranging from 65 to 95%. So that is pretty good. But also concerning, on the other hand, is the emergence of newer and more infective variants of the virus. That's quite concerning. Just yesterday, the US identified the variant that was first discovered in South Africa, in South Carolina. So with human mobility, we're going to find that these variants are also going to spread across the globe, like the first variant did. The WHO, since the onset of this pandemic, has given us several guidelines as to prevent transmission between humans, range from frequent hand washing, use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers, use of face masks, avoiding contact with sick individuals, and observing cough etiquette. But we know that these are major challenges for us in a lot of the African community. Water and sanitation is already a pre-existing major constraint. Water is a luxury item in most of the African communities. They barely have enough to cook, bath, and wash their clothes, let alone frequent hand washing. So it's very unlikely that such communities would actually be able to adhere to these regulations. The other challenge is housing. With overcrowding, physical distancing is unattainable in our communities. There's a lot of poverty in these communities where they have no money to feed adequately. So being able to afford a hand sanitizer or face mask is a huge challenge. So all of this existing constraints on the continent increase the risk of community transmission for COVID-19 in the African communities. Outside of the IPC or infection prevention restrictions for communities, we also have guidelines for use in the hospital settings or healthcare facilities. Again, challenges already exist. We have few hospital beds. The WHO has given us a data of 1.2 hospital beds per 1,000 people for Africa, compared to 6.5 in France, 3.5 in Italy, 3 in Spain, United States, and the United Kingdom. But we all saw what happened in Spain and France and Italy, even when they have better bed space compared to Africa. So this again poses a challenge at the healthcare facility level. The availability of equipment, the availability of personal protective equipment, clean water. The Afrobarometer Round 7 data gave us statistics from 34 African countries over 2016 and 2018 from 45 respondents, highlighting that hundreds of millions lack access to healthcare or clean water for frequent hand washing and cleaning. And these are critical means of limiting the spread of COVID-19. So these socioeconomic impacts have spared no group, whether you're a rural dweller or urban dweller, but we know that certain groups have borne the brunt of it. And this includes small businesses, farmers, older adults, especially those with multimorbidity and frailty, those who are in institutions, the disabled, asylum seekers, refugees, and children. And these groups are quite bountiful on our continent. Triad protocols in certain countries have been documented to discriminate against older adults for care. The South African Medical Journal documented scoring systems for triad protocols in South Africa, and this include age, physical and cognitive impairment. And we know that the older adults also are a group that tend to have both physical and cognitive impairment. And this discrimination is actually for critical care. And this is an infringement on the rights of older adults for care. And that brings to mind the issues of palliative care and end-of-life issues, advanced directives, because no one should be refused care on the basis of age without any prior documentation, an advanced directive from that individual to limit critical care to them. The specific impacts of the pandemic on older adults range multiple. And some of this are from our survey results that one of the co-chairs or the two co-chairs are referred to, and they range from increased mortality rates. We've seen it all over the world that where the case fatality was between 1 to 2 for younger people, was as high as 3 to 5% for older adults. Older persons with pre-existing health challenges lack access to continue to maintain care for their chronic medical conditions. So there's a disruption in care. Cancer treatment is disrupted. Those who have kidney failure and need to go on routine dialysis, some of them need to be dialyzed 2 or 3 times a week. All of those were disrupted during the lockdown and even following, because these older adults are afraid to go into the healthcare facilities because of fear of contracting the virus. There's neglect and maltreatment of older persons in care homes and other institutions, disruption of their social networks and support systems, increased incidences of abuse of older persons, isolation, neglect, loneliness due to social distancing. There's an erosion of their means of livelihood, especially those in the informal sector, especially during the lockdown. So the informal sector is a major component of the African population, and the ILO has given us statistics of about 86% of total employment in Africa being informal, and up to 91% in the West African countries. So if the lockdown had actually persisted as had happened earlier in the first wave, a lot of Africans will be thrown into worsening poverty, not just from the infection, but from the effects of the lockdown and not being able to work.
Dr.
These
Osei,
informal workers or the
Dr. Osei,
yes.
sorry to interrupt or cut you
Yes.
short. Yeah, I was just wondering if you can speak in line with what SGA Africa has done amidst the pandemic and what.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at the time and say, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's.
Thanks.
That's what I'm going to get to in 1 minute.
All right.
Right. So, so just for us to put into mind that we have a high informal sector population on the continent, and they are not put into consideration for relief packages, social safety net protection, or even healthcare insurance. So how do we build forward better? What are the contributions of SGA Africa? You've heard about the 2 webinar series that we held. The first one followed a survey where we had respondents from 8 African countries responding to the survey, and the topic of the survey was the impact of COVID-19 mitigation on the rights of older persons. And the results of the survey showed that a lot of countries reported inadequate structures and mechanisms for older persons' inclusion and participation in policy responses to COVID-19. There was non-responsiveness of mitigation and containment strategies to older persons' specific needs. There was also inadequate social protection and healthcare infrastructures and uncoordinated engagement mechanisms to harness voices of older persons, address cross-cutting challenges, and exploit traditional communal opportunities to support care of older persons. That webinar was really for the purpose of signaling to government leaders and policymakers the needs of vulnerable older persons in COVID-19 crisis, and to identify ways in which attention to human rights of older people can better focus recovery efforts on achieving equitable and inclusive development. Like we've heard MM say that we need to engage our governments to make them see mainstreaming aging and inclusion of older persons in development agendas as a positive tool towards having the continent develop. The second webinar was held with the theme United and Coordinated Africa for the Inclusion of Older Persons in COVID-19 Policy Response and Development Agendas. This was actually a very engaging session. It was organized in collaboration with UNDESA, African Union Commission, and ECA, the African Regional Forum on SDGs, UNFPA Kenya, Office of the UN Resident Coordinator for Mauritius and Seychelles. And Mauritius and Seychelles, during that webinar, showed us that they actually have certain best practices that other nations can emulate. And I'm hoping that as we all engage as a larger group, we can share these experiences and we can go back to our separate member states and governments and policy makers to ensure that they take on some of these best practices to improve the livelihood of our older adults. So the key messages from the second webinar was a call for a united and coordinated multi-sectorial system in Africa for the inclusion of older persons in COVID-19 policy response, the need for disaggregated data that came up almost from every speaker, that we do not know who our older adults are, how many they are, where they are, what their specific needs are, what their specific situations are. So data is key, and to be able to capture data appropriately and have it disaggregated. Human resource development and deliberate and direct engagement with member states to ensure targeted campaigns for aging mainstreaming. And at the end of that webinar, we were able to explore partnership with AUC that one of the co-chairs already told you about. So as we think about our roles in building better forward, let's look at three key areas: the lives of the people we're interested in, which will be older adults, their health and safety, their livelihoods, employment capacity, income, learning. They must have an opportunity for lifelong learning. So looking at education and even skills acquisition. So these are the key areas as SGA organization or partners or SGA member groups that we can look at in our different countries to be able to come up with strategies to build forward better. I guess for the sake of time, I really was going to open up this initial part of this area to hear one or two countries tell us about what they have taken away from webinar series and how they have actually put it into practice in their different countries. We must think about what our immediate responses can be, what comes next, how can we get ready, and what is our collective role in supporting long-term community resilience, especially as it pertains to older adults post-COVID-19. So really, what I've put here is in building forward, SGA Africa as an organization must continue to engage members for to give situational analysis and also give feasible interventions that alleviate the impact of COVID-19 on older adults through the experience and knowledge sharing from a series of webinars, that we collaborate with the regional and international bodies to improve, to build capacity amongst our members across the continent, and through this capacity build, to be able to reach, to have far-reaching effects in their different countries to improve the livelihood of our older adults. Also building capacity for our member organizations to engage government and policymakers, to be able to mobilize all the persons, give them a voice in their different communities as we plan for programs for them. So these are some of the areas, apart from the framework that I already gave you about their lives, their livelihoods, is that we look at on the health front. Are you an organization that has engagement with your state ministry of health or your government's ministry of health or hospital groups to be able to address issues of the rights in denying critical care for older adults, to be able to agitate for greater capacities for testing, to join in the call for vaccine rollout and make sure it's equitable, to have a provision of equipment for critical care. We've heard about oxygen shortage that has led to a lot of mortalities, not just on the African continent, but even globally. Sorry, yes, I'm already concluding. So on the policy, socioeconomic front, the policy measures should cushion income and job losses while tackling the specific challenges of high informality on the continent. And the issue of data sourcing and management, and the fact that we should develop more value-adding, knowledge-intensive and industrialized economies reinforced by a more competitive and efficient services sector. So really, we all have a role, and it has to be collective as organizations and engaging our governments, and our governments also being able to engage the international bodies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Osei. It's really difficult, taking in all that good information in a very short time. And I believe members will watch the video and probably will have other comments or observations and questions that they may like to ask regarding your presentation. Thank you very much. And for the sake of time, we're really running out of time, I must say. Perhaps we should move on to the next item on the agenda. You're shaking your head. You have something to say?
Actually, it's a pity if we cannot take contributions from different people from different countries concerning COVID. Because the essence of the meeting was, what are the challenges? What have we done and what are the challenges? What are the best practices? How can we now congeal this into our plan of action going forward so that we can build on that and develop a tool that we can share with members to know what to do at any time.
Yeah, that's great. But if we
can't take that, then that particular aspect has been defeated. So that's why I was shaking my head.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but if we take that, it will take more time for that particular item because we have 20 minutes for it. And so what we can do optional, alternatively, for members to probably make comments or ask questions that all are recorded now, and they of course will be shared, put together and shared by email, and the video of course will be ready at the end of the meeting for publication. Vijay.
Yeah, I'm proposing to mail to our fellow members of SGA a short account of the best practices that have been put in place in order to mitigate, to control the effect of COVID and what we have realized so far. Okay? Is it okay?
Oh, yeah. So yes, okay, now 5 minutes for this. Any member, anyone wants to take on the mic and talk about the best practice or what programs or what policies were put in place to deal with the COVID-19. Anyone, you can raise your hand and you'll be allowed to speak and come on video. Okay, so nobody. Nobody. Yeah, I'm checking. I'm going through the participants. Nobody is raising a hand or indicating to.
I am raising my hand. Are you? May I speak?
I didn't see. Sorry, MM, I didn't see your hand. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I am saying, what can we do around the issue of vaccines? You know, the perception of the vaccine. And of course, you know that older persons suffered, really suffer high morbidity, mortality. And so older persons really should be first in line. So, but we don't know, what governments are doing, what the national governments are doing, how they are prioritizing that. So I think the voice of SG Africa should be heard in that regard. Maybe we should have a webinar. Maybe we should now find a way of using AU to bring in representatives from governments. For instance, in Nigeria, our National Primary Healthcare Agency, now they are on some orientation. They are holding campaigns, and building capacity. And one of those I was able to attend. And I just discovered that, yes, they are planning to, after frontline health workers, the next group online are older persons. But what they did, they said 50 plus, from 50 plus, instead of saying from 60 plus. So now they have now brought in civil servants, able-bodied people, so that they now expanded that category. And then of course, once it's like that, the frail, really sick older persons are going to be left out. So issues like that, we should see. So how do we, get government to understand issues like that, and how do we plug the gaps? So those are the things maybe we should hold a webinar on, where we can advance.
Let me respond to that as a member, not as a moderator. I have just a bit of an idea that may be of interest to the members, because this issue of campaign is very important. I mean, that's one way to go about making sure that you have your voice on the table and what you're saying comes out strong. Now, the campaign is not only amongst the members, the campaign is together with strong government agencies in your country. You can say, recommend somebody at the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of wherever to join your organization and speak with SGA Africa on this vaccine issue. That will be the SGA Africa vaccine on COVID-19 campaign. It's a tagline. It's not going to be SGA Africa talking about COVID-19 and all that stuff. It's SGA Africa vaccine on COVID-19 and older persons. Sorry, COVID-19 vaccines and older persons. So there will be a specific target there. We want to get those vulnerable older persons vaccinated or put on the priority list. That's the campaign. And SG Africa is working together with its members who have brought in their key players in the government, their key players in policy making. I believe from my experience, that's what I've done with the IFA here in Japan and in Sweden as well. So it was really successful, and it's an ongoing campaign. Online, people come to talk about the challenges, and SG Africa can visit that country and meet with some strong government officials and say, why are we not putting this thing in practice? Because we agreed on how this can go. That's just my opinion anyway, a suggestion or idea that I think we can just step on that campaign and see how to move ahead with together with members in the planning process and execution as well.
So please, can you give us a concept note on that, concept paper on that, so we build on that?
Not today.
Hello, Ayuk.
Yes.
No, not now. I mean later. Rising from here, let's have a concept paper on that, so we can build an event around that.
Okay, I'll write that down so I don't forget. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so is it okay we move on to the next item on the agenda, MM? Okay, now the next item on the agenda is a fifth item, which is human rights. And I'm sorry to say again that we are really short of time, but we'll try and finish off with all that we have on the agenda, and hope that everyone is okay. Sorry for really keeping you, taking some extra time. The fifth item is human rights and legal instruments engagement going forward. And here we have three very strong individuals who are going to talk to this item, including Susan Summers. Susan Summers is the president of the International Network for the Protection of Elder Abuse. Am I correct? Yeah. And then we have Vijay. Vijay there is a very strong advocate and based in Mauritius. And then we have Ellie. And so I would like to ask request that Susan, who is taking the lead on this, to start a kickoff with talking about what you have prepared for the members meeting today. Susan? Hi, Susan. I know it's New York at 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. Susan, you there? Yes, she's online. No. Susan? Hi,
Sorry,
Susan.
hear me now?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, thank you. Good morning to everyone. I'm so pleased to be with you. And so far, it's been a very interesting and stimulating presentations. I think basically, since we have these wonderful speakers from Africa to talk about the issue, the situation on human rights right there where you live, I'll just give you a brief overview of where we've been going for the last at least a decade now, working fervently to raise the issue and the visibility of the human rights of older persons. It was said earlier, I believe Emin said it very strongly, that there's no way to talk about sustainable development or the SDGs without discussing human rights, because they have to be built and embedded in the human rights of older persons and all persons, for that matter, all persons of all ages. And the fact that you reach a certain age, you don't lose your human rights. And as we've seen with COVID, they should be protected in many ways, even more staunchly. You know, it's a sad situation, particularly with regards to part of the population, the older population, as far as older women, that you know, they lose their rights, they lose their social standing, they lose their identity and protection in society. If there isn't sometimes a man, a son, a brother, a husband to help protect them. And so we have a special emphasis on the concern of the rights of older women and widows, particularly in my organization and in PAEA. But we've been working together with many of you towards a new convention on the human rights of older persons. And we've been working through the instrument of the open-ended working group on aging in the UN, which generally meets once a year, but last year, of course, with COVID was postponed, and it will meet again in March. However, more a virtual meeting, which makes it very unfortunate for us not to be able to engage face-to-face on the floor daily with delegates. And so we need you even more to help us from now through through the end of the open-ended working group, the first week of April, to try to reach all of those different ministers, and through SGA Africa, perhaps with our engagement with the African Union Commission, perhaps we can have a better outcome this year. Why do we need human rights for older persons to be recognized? Because the lives that Dr. Osi has just discussed and just turned a huge spotlight on, they need to be protected. All of these issues need to be improved. The suffering needs to stop, and it's only going to get better if there is a legal written document that's enforceable, that has accountability, that has a complaint system, and data, as desperately in need of data, if we don't have this written instrument that's binding, we won't have a change. We won't have a cultural change, which is what we need, the culture of identifying and revering older persons. Of course, was strong at one time in many countries, but times have changed, and now we need this a treaty, an instrument, a convention. We need a written binding instrument to protect older persons' rights. And I think with that, I'll probably just wait and hear what Vijay and Ellie have to say. I'm always interested in learning more from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Vijay?
Yeah, thank you, Ayub. You see this book? This is the French version of the protocol to the African Charter on the Rights of Older Persons. It is my human rights companion, one of them. The convention will come, then I will add it to my paraphernalia. You see, the topic I have been given to talk on is engagement going forward. But this exercise gives me the opportunity of going backward. See where we haven't progressed that much. If I have done some research work, if I look at the ministers' meeting, that is the report of the ministers' meeting of the AU, specialized committee, technical committee in 2017. The meeting took note of the slow pace of signature and ratification of the Older Persons Protocol and urged member states to engage with governments and with the advocacy of civil society. Now, if we have this, I've read this so many times before, and in the context of this constat, of this a picture, what we have done, my organization, DIMOA, we have been campaigning at grassroots level, at village level, at town level, at municipal, at national level, talking, engaging with government. So the onus, I think, is on us all, our NGOs, to set our foot down, our feet down, talk to every stakeholder that comes across our way. Otherwise, if we don't make that pressure, you see what happened in 2019, the AU organized a sensitization program, this time in Kigali. And what happened? For African Union members, states, or the ratification of the protocol on the rights of persons or older persons. Now, if I look at the picture today, I've got a list of member states who have signed, ratified, and deposited. Signed, only 17. Ratified, only 2, and deposited, only 2. Which makes a bilan. If we make a summary of what we have today, I'm a little bit discouraged. But I feel motivated that this challenge has to be faced by each and every organization. Well, I mean, I'm talking from an NGO point of view, from a grassroots level organization. So the onus is on us. And what are the tools at our disposal? It's speaking, talking to people, writing press articles, intervening on the radio, intervening on television, intervening everywhere. For example, GMOA, my organization, is a member of the National Mechanism for Reporting and Follow-up. We seek a seat in that system, which is presided by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it gives us a platform, it gives us a podium where we have to talk. So we need, you know what? We need a minimum 15 states for ratification. Otherwise, this protocol will not come into force. From January 2016 and January 2021, a lot of time has gone. So moving forward, we'll have to take into consideration, strategize, all of us individually in our respective countries under the guidance, of course, of SGA Africa. Now, when I come to the Convention for the Rights of Older Persons at the UN, all of us, we have to go back to dig into the statistics of how many countries, member states go and attend the meetings, how many speak, how many keep quiet, how many do not, just attend. So this will give you an idea of why we have taken so many years. Of course, it is an open-ended working group. How many years? The other day I asked the question, how far are we near to see the writing of this UN convention? We are putting in our heads, intellectual heads, academia, everybody. But then the time has come to start reflecting, but this is my personal reflection, to start reflecting on the text, on how to mobilize countries around the world. Some country can tell you, but we have everything for our older persons. Welfare state, like in Mauritius, welfare state for everybody. In Mauritius, older people have free transport, free medical care, free carers allowance. Food was distributed at home individually during the pandemic. The pension was delivered at home individually. But I tell them, this is not enough. We have to join, the voices, join with other countries to be solidarity with other countries in order to realize the upcoming of that convention. So these are the reflections that I have made on the on the SGA, on the South African, on the Charter, and on the UN Convention. So over to you now, Ayub.
Thank you, Vijay, and thank you so much. So let's just move on to Ellie, your comments or what you have to say on this item to share with members.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to greet you and wish you Happy New Year. I'm happy that we are here all today discussing about legal and policy framework and each one's role and responsibility. If we talk of this, the ratification of African Charter, what I can say, as Vijay mentioned, of course, it was adopted by General Assembly in 2016. So this was a collective decision by member states to protect all the persons in the continent. As he said, there is need of at least 15 ratification for this to enter into force. So what I can say, now today in January, it is 5 years now. Imagine 5 years later, only 4 countries have ratified. So we are still really have a lot to do. And on my side, let me say that I believe in a collaboration, in participation, and in collaboration, in a coordination. What we were able to do, I think, in these 4 countries that already ratified and those whose justice signed, what we did was to raise awareness for civil society, for government, for UN agencies, and the other stakeholders. Because the problem here was even that when you go to ask the government officials, they seem not to know even what it is. But it is our responsibility as a civil society, working with other people, to raise awareness among all of this, and lobby, mobilize others, so that at least we have these 15 countries ratifying the African Charter. Because without legal and legal and the policy framework, we should all be mobilized for in all our countries. There are, though, still some challenges. One is that older people and aging is not a priority in agenda and regional level, like children, youth, and women. I don't know why people, they have this, there is this say that Africa is a young continent. In 2015, the population below 35 represented three-quarters of all of them. They say, you know, this is a priority because it is a big number. And my question is this: should one group of people be left behind because it's a minority? That is my question. So this is why I'm not really happy when they say, you know, young people are majority, women are majority, and so this is the priority. So we need to fight for all the people to be a priority as well, because no one should be left behind. So what we can do, what all of us need to do is to be mobilized at a national level, to more be civil society and all the people be, to build the capacity of all the people, because themselves, they should be one to advocate for themselves. Yes, we support them, but they need to be involved in and participate in this advocacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ellie, and thank you, Vijay and Susan. We have 2 minutes allocated, 2 minutes left allocated for this item. So I just want to go back to Susan just to round up, and please just tell the members what kind of messages or what kind of approach they can take to come into the SGA Africa Circle and push for this particular issue that SG Africa is so strong in advocating for the rights of older persons. Suzanne?
Thank you, Ayo. And thanks to the two speakers who brought very important issues out. I think what we should realize is that now COVID has actually done us a favor with regards to the situation, the status of older persons and a convention. The Secretary General, I believe it was May 1st, issued a brief on COVID and older persons. And in that brief, for the first time, he stated pretty clearly that a convention is absolutely needed for older persons at this point. So we have this to stand upon. And to go further, our SGA members should know which countries signed on to a statement in support of that. So 146 countries, many of them, of course, from the African region, signed on as supporting the Secretary General's brief. So it really is no longer a question. There should be a convention. The Secretary General has spoken out on it, and we should use this as heavy leverage when we approach the missions. And so I think that would help towards our success. Thank you.
So much, Susan. Thank you. Thank you. We are moving on. And please, members, please be reminded that you can put in your questions or comments there, and then we'll go to them and send you the feedback after the meeting, or if we have a few minutes, we can invite some of you to make some comments. And the next item we have on the agenda, we are moving close to the end, is a status and collaborative efforts, ventures with partners. And there we have 3 bullet points that Dr. Mokaro will handle, and MM. 20 minutes, please. Countdown.
Yeah, frankly, I don't need 20 minutes. I wish I can lend you 10 minutes so that members can.
Yeah.
No,
thank you.
seriously.
That would be very kind.
Let me give you 10 minutes to add to the 2 minutes, and then we open it to members. Yeah. If they have any question, if they have want to contribute, because the issue of human rights and the instrument is very important. And the issue of the open-ended working group on aging. If they need some clarification on what to do, please. So I give you back, I give you my 10 minutes. Then I'll just use 10 minutes to do what I need to do. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Thank you. So now we have the floor open for members. We are back to the human rights and legal instruments. This is really important, and perhaps we can get some.
Ayuk, if I might say something else.
Sure, Susan, please do.
I think we should inform the members that are on today and that the GARAP, the organization, the Global Alliance on the Rights of Older Persons, will be having a webinar for members and others, I'm sure, on the 3rd of February, yes? And that will pertain particularly to this process for the open-ended working group and working up to it. Very informative, I'm sure. And then on Thursday, the Committee on Aging in New York, the committee to promote a convention, which I co-chair with Francis and Aidan, we are going to have Bridget Sleep from Help Age discuss the campaign, the new campaign that they have with regards to changing the culture with respect to older persons. And so that would be very informative too. And if anyone has questions or needs or wants to engage in the open-ended working group, I am more than happy to help them become accredited, bring them up to speed, provide information. If they want to speak to their representatives in African states, I can help them know what statements were made by their country, whether they appeared at all at the open-ended working group. And, you know, we're really glad to work hand in hand with anyone. So there's no reason to feel unsupported. We're here for you. SGA Africa is here to help you. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Ayuk, let me just write on what Susan just said before you continue. Hello, Ayuk.
Yes, please. Amen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Susan, thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, for the GAROP, yeah, I think I have that information. Thank you for bringing that reminder. I will send it via the Google group. I will send it to all the members so that they can register. And then for the Committee on Aging, please, if you could also send the information, you could send it through the Google Doc as well, so that members will have it and we keep reminding, because it is really, really very important. If we can join the GAROP webinar on the open-ended working group on aging, it's something that we cannot miss because it's going to be very educative, very informative. So Susan, yes, if we can get the information, then we can push it to all the members.
I will.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Ayuk, I just wanted to write on that, so continue.
Yes, thank you. And I'm just going through the question and the Q&A section, and I see a question, I'm sorry, a comment, comments and questions here from Kabelenga. Kabelenga is from Zambia and is online. And yes, he is wondering why there is very little government interest in the UN International Day for Older Persons on 5th October and the UN International Elder Abuse Awareness Day on 10th of June. That's his concern. He doesn't know why the government is not really interested in these two very important days. So, Mr. Kabelenga, would you like to talk? I'm not sure where you are, so to bring you, I'm not, are you listening? Hello? Mr. Kabelenga, would you like to speak on live to that comment?
I think maybe probably he's gone, but
he is there.
Answer. Is it there?
Yeah, he is.
Isaac, that's Isaac.
Yeah, Isaac.
From
Isaac.
Zambia. From Zambia.
Yeah, Zambia.
Hello, Isaac.
He may be having electronics problems. I think it's not the best there.
Okay, well, oh, his mic is unmuted, so I believe he talks now. We can listen. If he says something, we will.
Are you able to hear me, please?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be part of this inaugural meeting, and it's my desire so much to promote aging issues. And I've actively participated in addressing the injustice against other people here in Zambia. And had actually several privileges to give public talks or public lectures during the UN International Day for the Older People, which falls in October, and also the UN Day on the Elder Abuse, which falls in June. I've actually realized that during those days here in Zambia, there is actually very low political commitment during that day. Sometimes you find that there is not even a senior civil government official who comes to attend those public lectures. And if you are able to think about maybe International Women's Day, maybe International Youth Day, you find that here in Zambia, even those days are graced by the Republican presidents. And all the senior government officials, they go to different parts of Zambia to go and actually officiate during those days. But I've never seen that during international days for the older people. And yet the older people are the roots of this world. So in this regard, I'm strongly proposing that as SGA, we consider lobbying African Union and the United Nations to compel all African countries to make UN International Day for the Older People and also the UN Elder Abuse Day to become public holidays. As you are already aware, if those days become public holidays, meaning that they will receive a lot of attention from the general public, and even just allocating public resources to addressing the challenges faced by the older people will be possible. So that's my submission. The other submission which I also have is, if you look at the international donor community funding different social development projects in Africa, they don't seem to be committed to addressing the problem faced by the older people. You think about so many organizations. So I'm also proposing that what we need to do actually is to engage the international donor community that fund social development projects on the African continent, so that they attach, if it means the conditions to their aid, that African countries should get committed to addressing the challenges of the older persons. I feel that that is will help in addressing most of these problems that the older persons are facing in Africa. And lastly, I've been doing research here in Zambia on elder abuse. And one of the major recommendations which has come out is, in order to address most of the problems that older persons are facing in Zambia, that we need to actually introduce, to mainstream aging issues in school curriculum, from preschool level, primary school, up to all different levels of education, that we need to have this component of aging. And that approach is seen to be key in capacity building of not just the capacity building of different stakeholders who can play a part in improving the welfare of the people, of the older persons. So I'm proposing that as SGA, we also continue lobbying the African Union and also the United Nations to compel all African countries to mainstream aging issues in all the school curricula. And then the last question which I have is, as SGA, how do you support individuals and organizations who are interested in promoting aging issues in their countries? I say so because I'm very passionate about the problems faced by the older people, but it is usually difficult for me to do that because of the financial resources. In almost all the activities that I do, I've just been using my own resources. And that becomes very difficult, even like for me here in Zambia, to mobilize other people to join my efforts in promoting the welfare of the older persons. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MM.
No, I'm not saying it. I just wanted to commend Isaac for those very salient contributions. And this is exactly the reason why this general meeting, this General Assembly was set up, for contributions, for tapping ideas and initiatives that we can now, marry into, mainstream into our plan of action. Going forward to see how those 3 points are very salient. Isaac, thank you very much. I'm aware of your research activities, and Isaac was one of those whose article was published by International Institute of Aging online journal. So Isaac, thank you very much. Yeah, are you?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is my 10 minutes up?
We have 2 minutes. Just give 2 minutes because yeah, I just want to take this opportunity because this is really important, an important item that I am also really strong in speaking to whenever invited for whatever. 2 weeks ago, the government of Japan invited me to talk about aging to a group of young persons online anyway on Zoom. So I brought this up, and there were participants from Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, and we kind of like fell on elder abuse, which was a common topic, and it was so enlightening. And the staff at the Japanese government office, the cabinet office, not the local government, cabinet, the main office, they were saying that this is the first time they are hearing about so many problems about elder abuse and how, we kind of take mob justice out to to people who we accuse or suspect them of witchcraft or of bringing misfortune into the family. So I just want to go back to Susan because she's been working a lot with so many NGOs there in Africa and probably visited a lot of countries in Africa, and her experience is just to say what she thinks of this idea that governments show little interest when it comes to the Day of the Older Persons or the Awareness Day or anything that has to do with older persons, which should probably a national issue and something that the government official or senior government officials should be involved in whatever activity so that people can be encouraged to do more. Susan? Susan, hello? Okay.
Susan is gone.
All right, so
yeah,
we are moving on to the item you have to speak on right now, which is status and collaborative ventures.
Yeah, I want to also, before I go to my that topic that is assigned, I want to say in response to Isaac that strategizing for funding is one of the things that East Africa is going to take up. Rosalind had touched on that. It's one of those strategic plans that we are trying to put in place to see how we can attract funding on aging in Africa. So we welcome as many people as have ideas on what we need to do and where we need to go, so that we have that strategy in place. And what Isaac has suggested will be very helpful. So Isaac, thank you very much. Thanks. And then concerning why government is really not interested in, issues of aging and, days set aside to remember, honor, celebrate older persons. My answer would be that is why SG Africa is in existence. That's why we are SG Africa, so that we can change conversation, so that we can advocate against discrimination, so that we can build capacity and cause government to understand the issue, so that we can influence policy, so that we can bring evidence to government using data for them to see. and really so that we can, you can emphasize and convince that older persons are a force for economic growth, and that we all need the life link, the intergenerational life link. So that is why we exist. That is why we exist in our countries as coalitions, NGOs, as capacity builders, as people in the health sector, whatever aspect, whatever sector we are. It is on us. We should ask ourselves that question and we should find answers. So Isaac, thank you for bringing that. That is why we exist, SG Africa. That's our objective and vision. And hopefully we are making progress. So now moving forward to the item that I'm supposed to address now, partnerships. I had mentioned earlier that we have been able to further collaborative relationship with the African Union Commission. Last year, towards the end, I think it was on the 10th of December, we had a very historic meeting, very, very successful. And we offered a platform for African Union Commission to use to reach out to member states, to use for coalition of data, to use for research matters, capacity building matters. And they also offered us their convening power. They offered us their influence. So it's a partnership that is mutual. So I want to say that for 2021 and 2022, we arrived at a joint action, some specific items that we, agreed that we should focus on this year between 2021 and 2022, just to show you that we have really moved forward this partnership. And I want to read out the things that we are going to be focusing on as we wait for them to send us a draft work plan. They are working on that draft work plan right now. One of it is the hosting of the high-level independent continental meeting of ministers. Ministers of social development, ministers of social protection, gender, whatever it's called, in our different countries. But those ministers that have oversight over SDGs and older persons. AU will engage in convening, using their convening powers to invite the members, reps, and then we will provide a technical background, different things that we need to do, the outcome that we need to see. So we'll engage all of us. When this is said, all of us will work on the concept note, all of us will work on objectives and the outcomes we need to see with the AUC Secretariat. I think this is what we have been waiting for, because with all our member states, we will be able to, to engage in very serious discussions and to try to influence where we can influence. And then the issues of the ratification issues of the UN Open-Ended Working Group. So with the partnership with African Union Commission, we can have a platform to be discussing these issues. And then the next item that we agreed on was the formulation, marketing, and influencing of AU choice of the theme for 2023. That is very important. In fact, they are the ones who made us aware that African Union yearly, they meet and they lobby to influence, stakeholder groups lobby to influence a theme. And they told us that they have never ever had any theme on aging. So they would like to work with SGA Africa to choose a theme and then to lobby, to begin now to lobby towards 2023. And the advantage of that is that once AU picks a theme, then there is nothing AU would do, nothing the member states would do throughout that year without hinging it on that theme. So should we be successful in picking a theme that speaks to aging inclusion, maybe multidimensional, so that we can include gender, include intergenerational, whatever it is that we include, but it speaks to aging inclusion, then that year we would have really hit it. So that is one of the things that we are looking forward to and working on. And then the next thing that we are going to work on together with African Union is advocating for the appointment of African Union Special Envoy on Aging. That is very important that we begin to lobby and advocate that African Union should appoint a special envoy on aging and older persons. And that this will bring visibility and, force member states to hear, to listen to and hear issues about rights of older persons. So SG Africa and African Union Commission will be working to try to influence that appointment. And then the next other thing is the continental mobilization for action on rights of older persons. That is deliberately focusing on ratification of the AU Protocol and the UN Convention. Susan had mentioned about the African group and visitation to diplomats, foreign missions. So we can also use the African Union in this regard to reach out to member states and also influence meetings with the African group within the United Nations. And then, of course, mobilization of resources in partnership. African Union Commission, they told us they really do not have money, but they can use their influence. We can use their name once we have, decided on what we need to do, what we want to, they will work together with us to help us to strategize for funding. So these are the things that we're able to tease out, and these are going to be the specific areas we want to focus on. So I believe that 2021 is going to be a good year if we put ourselves to work. So yeah, so that is it. So as soon as we have the draft work plan, we will keep everybody informed going forward. The other one is UNDESA, United Nations Department for Social and Economic Affairs. We have been able to develop a very robust, very family-friendly relationship with the United Nations, thanks to Susan, thanks to Amal, thanks to all our friends. We are like family there. So whatever we need to do, we want to do, once we send them the concept note and we ask them to contribute also to the concept note, it gives us a leverage. So yes, we have some kind of relationship, some relationship with UNDESA. That's a relationship we'll continue to encourage and pursue. And that's a relationship that helps to magnify our voices globally. Or whatever we do, all our reports, that department makes sure that it's on the relevant websites, and then they support us in all that we need to do. But I would like, Susan, please, I would like you to take up the last one, a UN NGO Committee on Aging. Susan, are you there? And how we can further relationship with UN NGO Committee on Aging, and then the SGA Africa, New York. Susan, are you there? Hello, Susan. Are you, Susan, still there?
Well, I don't see her online, so she must have left.
Okay, the NGO Committee on Aging, Susan is co-chair, and of course, as the name says, those are all the NGOs who have been recognized, accredited, as with consultative status and specific or general consultative status on aging by the United Nations. Help Age belongs there, and the Inaugural Foundation belongs there as well. So that is the contact between the UN body and NGOs on aging, so to speak. So we have a relationship, very robust relationship and partnerships. So whatever we need to do as SG Africa, we're just saying that we have been able to build a network, regional network, global network, national network. So going forward, I just want to encourage all of us that whatever we are doing in our local areas, our rural areas, the national level, once we meet and once we have feedback and we have reports and we have developed the tools to use, that we are one big family. So we should not feel that maybe we are working and it's not being recognized. We are not having the impact that we need to have, or things are moving slowly. I just want to encourage that aging is on the front line now, front burner now. So we have all the platforms that we need to really push our cases. So I want to, on this note, encourage the national actors. We want to work with persons within the countries. We all belong to different countries. So we want to be able to build tools, advocacy tools. What can we do to help ourselves within our countries? What can we learn from SG Africa and take it right down to the grassroots? And what can you as the national actors, the rural, the community actors, feed up, bottom up and bring to us so that we can, we can utilize it and put it in our, in our arsenal of what we can use to really bring the influence and get the impact that we want. Concerning SDGs, what are the mechanisms? What are the gaps that we have noticed? And that we can pick up these gaps, and make them, weave them into advocacy weapons. So those are the questions. That's why we need to work together, engage even further. Engagement builds our capacity. Engagement helps us to learn from best practices from other countries. We have learned a lot. For instance, the last webinar that we had, we learned a lot from Mauritius when the resident coordinator came and addressed. And rising from there, we began to engage WHO, to engage as many people as said, look, there needs to be a mechanism where whatever comes from the UN is not enough to throw out policy measures and throw out policy measures from African Union. Where is the mechanism? Put the mechanisms in place so we can learn from each other. On that note, Ayuk, I think I want to rest my case, wait for comments from others. So yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, MMN. I think we can go on to the last item since time. We just used almost 45 minutes extra. We are already past the time schedule for the time scheduled to end the meeting. But this is just any other business, so it's open to all the members. Yes, so whatever you think we can speak on this item, please just indicate and you will be allowed to come on video and use your mic as well. So we are on any other business, the last item on the agenda. Hello, anybody? I can see Alan on video. Would you like to say something?
I'm Moira Allen from the Pass It On Network, and I would just like to say that we're busy building or gathering members in Southern Africa. And we'd very much like to talk to you, Em, and to see how we can work together, because everybody's working in the same direction. So at the moment, we're in several countries down there with strong people. And I'll get in touch with you very shortly on that. In fact, we're having our next meeting on the 6th of February. There we go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure working with you, Mara. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And anybody else would like to say something on any other business?
Yeah, I've been lifting my hand, but incidentally, it's like it's not been noticed.
Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayuk and Dr. Mokaro. I want to commend you and all the other colleagues who are working very hard at pushing the agenda for aging forward. I want to say that when we're looking at issues for the African Union, that if we look at it from the 2 point of view of elder care policy and aged care system, that we'll be able to cover all the issues that we're looking at. If we try to look at these two areas when discussing on the common theme that they can adopt, we'll be able to cover a multiplicity of issues affecting older people, with the human rights issues, with issues of long-term care, protection of the rights of older people, taking care of biomedical, social, psychological, mental, and economic issues from the elder care policy point of view, and from a regulated, well-funded, sustainable aged care system will be able to take care of care from the home through the acute, subacute, and long-term care issues. And then that will be able to cover all areas that we should look at in Africa, because these are not yet really developed. They're very much on the rudimentary level when we look at what is happening in Africa. Currently, I think very few countries have a well-regulated aged care system, particularly long-term care system. So it's an area that is affecting the older people in terms of care over the life course. So these are my inputs as to areas we should be looking at when we're discussing with the African Union. But I want to thank you so much for the way you are networking and the way you're pushing the agenda forward. That said, if we go at that pace, we'll be able to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Are you, please, can I write on, can I respond to Dante?
Yes, very quickly, please.
Just 1 minute, 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Dante, thank you very much. Yeah, I want, in fact, I'm throwing it open now to everybody. Because concerning that theme that we need to work on and to lobby so that it can be the theme for 2023. In fact, if we can push for it, could be 2022, 2023. The catch is not to, because it has to be acceptable by all the member states, and it has to, so we need to find a theme, that's what we were told, that is not so specifically aging, so that it will not be narrow, that it will be cross-cutting, intersectional, multi-sectoral, but that will really have a bearing on aging inclusion. So that no matter how they turn it, it has to do with aging and inclusion. So please, I'm throwing this out there. Let us begin to think of what theme can we suggest to African Union Commission. So that's a competition open to everybody. Let's write on the theme. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MM. And we are moving very close to the end of the meeting. We are still on AOB. So this is a members meeting. So I believe we can leave 2 or 3 minutes more. If someone, you have a comment or a question or anything that you would like to add to the agenda, perhaps just briefly, then there will be a follow-up on that, of course. Very important. Your voice is very important. Your work is very important. You are very important. We are all very important. And this is just the proverb that I can't really get. It's going to stay with me for a very long time, or a proverb, or a saying. They say, a single bangle doesn't jingle, and that's something that's so interesting. So our voice together is strong, is going to be strong. So Nesta, Tendi, would like to say something?
Thank you very much. It's been a very stimulating meeting. I just had 2 points. One was in connection with the theme, the AU theme. I will try to put something together, but I thought something along the intergenerational theme would at least cover the current passion on supporting the youth as well as the older people. But I will work on that and get in touch with you. The other thing was in terms of targeting specific organizations within the continent. Are we looking at the regional organizations, for example, SADC and ECOWAS, which may be easier to move in terms of policies, and also do top down? Obviously, would still carry on working with the AU.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nesta. Really, really nice to hear from you. Nesta is speaking from Zimbabwe. Yeah, she's one of the experts in aging in Africa. Yeah. Thank you very much. So yes, Nesta, I'm very happy that you have offered to work on that theme. I trust that whatever you bring, we'll put our heads together. Thank you so much. And then yes, our plan is to work across the region, the sub-regions. As a matter of fact, in 2019, we engaged the ECOWAS Parliament. So we'll continue to do that. Yeah, we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Yes. So one last one last anyone has to say? One last before we close the meeting. You see Margaret Lefadeju on the screen. All right, go ahead. No? 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 Okay. Okay, so we are moving. We are now at the end of the meeting. So just to thank the SGA co-chairs, Dr. Omokaro and Ms. Kumba, who left a little earlier, and to thank the steering group and to thank all those who've talked to us about the items. I mean, really highlighted some very serious and important points that we had on the item.
Sorry, I think I see 2 hands up.
Okay.
There's a Fatima.
We have. All right. What would you like to suggest? I thought we have 2 minutes to close.
No, please, the hands are up. Please let them speak.
Okay.
Please.
Sure. Yeah, with your
permission. Je peux parler. Bonsoir.
Okay.
Bonsoir. Je sais que peut-être vous ne comprenez pas français et que moi je ne comprends pas anglais très bien. Je vous ai écouté et je vous en remercie, mais je n'ai pas pu parler, d'autant plus que je ne comprends pas très bien l'anglais. Je ne le parle pas très bien, mais je le comprends un peu. Donc, je suis du Niger. Le Niger, c'est un pays francophone. Je vous remercie.
Vous êtes du Niger?
Donc, j'ai bien suivi. Et d'après ce que j'ai compris, oui, je suis du Niger.
Okay.
Le Niger, c'est un pays francophone.
She's from Niger, which is a French-speaking country. She can understand a little bit of English, but she can't really understand all of what we've been talking about, and she would like to express herself in French. Fatima, c'est ça, non?
Je peux essayer de... Vous allez traduire. Donc je vous remercie. Peut-être la prochaine fois, je vais parler, je vais essayer de parler en anglais pour que tout le monde puisse comprendre. Merci.
Okay. So the next time she would try, do her best to speak in English so that everybody will understand. But this time, unfortunately, she cannot do so. And that's all she wanted to say.
I think what we could promise really is that it's only fair that we try to, engage some translation. So next time our meeting, we'll try to have some translation.
Okay.
So we'll try to see that we have translation because it's not fair, really. We have Francophone and we have Anglophone. So
okay.
Be able to
thank you.
Okay. All right.
Isaac, your hand is up. Isaac Kabalenga.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to say something. I don't know if you're able to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, sure. So Emima raised, I think, a very, very important point or strategy on the appointment of a special envoy on aging in the African Union. This is really, really commendable. But I would suggest further that in order for this strategy to be effective, we should consider robbing the UN. You know, the UN, they have offices in different countries in Africa. You know, there's UN Zambia, UN Nigeria, UN Cameroon, and so forth. We should rob them that they introduce the position of the special envoy in all their offices, wherever they are operating from. I feel that that will become more or less like a decentralized approach to improving the welfare of the people, because the special envoys in the UN offices, they will be able now to collect information about the problem faced by the other people in different countries across the world or across the African continent, and then bring them to the attention of the special envoy at the African Union. And I'm also proposing that we also consider advocating, I think, lobbying maybe SADC countries, ECOWAS countries, and SADC countries also to consider introducing this position of a special envoy in their bodies. But we can also narrow it down in favor to also engage all the African countries also to introduce this position of special envoy at governmental level, so that, you know, these special envoys, they'll be now able to engage with their governments, with their presidency on all the urgent issues. And I feel that is the only way this approach will be able to be effective. But if we just focus on African Union, I feel that maybe it will not be very effective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isaac, thank you. Are you, please, can I write on that? Can I?
No, please do.
Yeah, Isaac, thank you very much for that suggestion. Having broken through and developing this partnership with the African Union Commission, whatever offer is on the table and we can pursue, we pursue. Once we can, and it's not going to be an easy task. It's going to take a lot of advocating and convincing and pressuring. In East Africa, we are prepared to work with the special department in charge of this to push. One thing they will tell you is the funding. The first thing is who is paying? Who will pay for the special envoy? So we'll work out that formula. So coming back now to the UN, I want us to also to know that there's an independent expert on aging, appointed aging and on older persons, rights of older persons, appointed by the UN. So the UN, they work with independent experts. So the appointment of envoys, you know, special envoys on aging will now, if that is what the different countries decide to do, they do. But don't forget that the different countries, they have ministers who have oversight over older persons and social development. So that will now be left to individual countries. I don't see how, this is my thinking, it's just an opinion. I really can't see how UN can influence that for countries to appoint special envoys. So I ask that we first work and explore this prospect with the African Union. And then we see how African Union can now carry it from there. And then maybe we enter the sub-regions. For instance, ECOWAS, yes, can appoint a special envoy. But let's start from where we have the platform and the opportunity to start. So thank you very much, Isaac, Dr. Isaac. And then Isaac, you can go further and send the steering group a concept paper on that, on all your suggestions. Dr. Isaac, did you hear me?
Yes, hello? I'm hearing you.
Yes, please, yes, if you can send us a concept, because you have made very salient contributions. If you can go ahead and send us a concept paper on all your suggestions, just send it to us. And then you join the team. We will make the teams, the working groups available so that everybody, you can volunteer to join whichever one. So please, your concept, your ideas are the ideas we'd like to explore. So if you can send us that, as Nesta will also send us hers. Is that okay?
Yeah. It's fine, please. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thanks. So Ayuk, you can round up.
Okay, thank you, and thank you all. It's been wonderful. I believe we are now at the end of the meeting and AOB. So I just want to come in with one very important point, because we can't live here without knowing when we'll meet again. So I am going to ask, I'll probably put this forward to the SG Africa Committee Steering Group, just to give the members an idea of whether this will be a one-time annual meeting or it will be monthly, or I don't know how many times these meetings, general meetings, are going to happen in a year. So what will be the next move? Are we going to have another meeting? And when will that be? Because I believe it's important that prior to major events, members should come together and strategize and put heads together and come up with a good way of taking SGA Africa to that event and making sure that SGA Africa is visible and heard.
So did you throw that question to who?
Well, I'll just put in the question to the group, but then the steering committee will take the lead, obviously, go back and think about it. So members should be aware that information will be coming out on whether there will be another meeting and when that will happen.
Okay, I want to say this, that now we're going to send out a framework on the different working groups that we have. And then the objective of the different working group, the activities and the job description, so that whoever wants to volunteer to join, contribute, that we're going to do, the different issues. And then after the meeting, don't forget that we're still strategizing for bringing all these inputs together for the work plan for 2021. So after our steering group meeting, then we can now send information as to the frequency of the meeting and the webinars we're about to have.
Okay, very interesting suggestion from SCA and SAR. Meetings can be regular, but big gatherings twice a year, and smaller working groups meetings on a more regular basis. That's I'm just reading that from his chat box, so I believe that will be taken into consideration. Very important. Thank you so much.
Working groups, yes, the working groups, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're at the end of the meeting. So I think we'll close now. Thank you all so very much. And my apologies again on behalf of the technical team. My colleague had some very strong engagement, prior engagement, so he could not be with me to help with this. And if we did not perform well, I'm sure I can promise you that we'll do better. And if there is any way that you think we can improve, please just just post a comment on the WhatsApp forum, and we'll very much take that into consideration. So I move that probably with your permission, that there should be a motion for the meeting to close. And who is going to second that? For the record. Oh, we don't want the meeting to close.
Can somebody second this closure, please? Not somebody from the steering group, please. Member.
A member. It's like
I second it.
Okay.
Yeah, Nesta.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful, a wonderful, great meeting, and we're looking forward to meeting again. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Have a great morning.
Thank you.
Night. Yeah. And you're on mute.
Can we see everybody's face? Can you bring everybody in?
Yeah, sure.
Can you open?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there, those whose videos are on, you can see their faces. Some, they decided not to. Not to put on the videos. And
Paulette didn't say a word. Hi, Paulette.
Paulette, her video has been off throughout the meeting, and she.
And you can see people's faces before they go.
Well.
Hi, Ellie. Hi, David Mark. Yeah. Ayuk.
Yeah. Yeah, you see faces now, so I'm trying to let them use their video. Yeah. And we see Fatima Jibril, her video now is on. So Ellie, his video is off, probably.
Oh, Olewakuru. Hi, Doc. I see Doctor. Oh. Verena, hi. Margaret, hi. Can't even see anybody again. They've gone. Oh, Rose.
Yeah, everybody, they are leaving. Just 15.
Rose is there. Isaac, I see Isaac again. My sister Osi. You did not do repertoire. You didn't do repertoire for us today. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye, Augustine. Bye. I see Augustine there.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Let's go and continue discussion.
Thank you so much.
Let's continue discussion on what's the platform. Hi, Amy. Bye. Let's continue discussion on our WhatsApp platform, please. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye to everyone.
Bye, Doc.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.